Good morning. It was years ago now, back when I was living in Houston. I was into sailing then, so this had to be 35, 40 years ago. You remember America's Cup? America always won the big sailboat race, America's Cup. But we finally had lost it down to Australia. And they were going to have a big race down in Australia, finally America's Cup. We had to go down and win. And I loved sailing back then, and I really thought, I'd like to go down and go see that. I knew that was going to be a stretch financially, but I also believe you never know what you can do until you really go look at it. And how many times we prejudge, oh, I can't afford this, or I never can make that happen. And if we just go look carefully, it's amazing what can happen. So there was a line, a 1-800 line back in those days to call, and you called down to Australia to talk to them about going down and all the reservations and things you needed to do to make the trip to go see America's Cup. So I called the line, and I visited. There was this really nice lady on the other end, and we talked and talked about the America's Cup and the race and what it would be like to come down there. And we just had a good conversation for quite some time. And to tell you the truth, I love listening to Australians talk. I love their accent and all their statements of, like, good day, mate. And I just had a great time visiting with her. And we were coming right to the end, and I was going to comment on her accent. And I got ready to, and she suddenly said, before we say goodbye, may I just tell you one thing? I love your accent. And I was so taken back. And she started laughing and said, I bet you didn't think you had one. Well, I was from Texas. I'd lived in Texas all my life. And I just kind of laughed and said, well, to tell you the truth, I really didn't. She said, I could listen to you talk all day long. And I found that hysterical. I was feeling the same way about her. And what the truth is? Sometimes it's hard to understand them with their accents, to understand all their words, what they're saying. I'm sure she probably felt the same way about me. But we were doing the best we could, and we enjoyed a different accent. It made me think about back when I was in Houston as a young pastor. One day we went over to some friends' house after church to have lunch. The friends were from Pittsburgh. They'd grown up in the East all their life, and now they'd moved down to Houston. And they just sitting there said, we cracked up in your sermon today. It was so funny. And I was trying to think, what did I say that was funny? They said, you talked about how Jesus was fixing to go to Jerusalem. And I said, well, he was. And they said, no, you said he was fixing to go to Jerusalem. Well, that's what the scripture says. And they just started cracking up laughing and saying, we never thought about Jesus fixing to go do anything. I never really thought about that being a strange word down in the South where I was from. Sure was funny to the people from up north. They'd never heard that kind of, I'm fixing to go do something. It is interesting how we all have different accents and we use words differently. And that's sometimes why we have a hard time communicating with one another. But there's one thing you don't get a hard time communicating about. One thing that speaks all languages. And that's acts of love. Regardless of our accent or our different language, we all understand love. And that's why God sent a baby in Bethlehem, so that we wouldn't miss the statement that was being made. The statement that clearly everyone could understand, whether it was people in the Middle East or now people living in America. Whether it was a statement 2,000 years ago, it's something we can understand today. For it is a statement about God's love, his love for us, and a love that draws us together as a family. Don't miss the message that is being shared for you this Christmas. Have a great day.